Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Well, howdy, burners. I hope I'm catching everybody in a good place tonight, feeling good, doing good, mentally strong and healthy. The kids is fed, everybody relaxing, you laid back, doing what you do, if you're sipping on some wine or if it's puffing. Hey, do you. It's okay. You did what you were supposed to do for everybody else. Do you. And me, I'm gonna try to feed y'all a little story, man. To just put something on your mind before you go to bed. That's all. It's a beautiful thing. I don't want to have them Pookie from New Jack lips. Anyway, look, here goes the disclaimer. If you want to watch this video with me, Marshawn no, my nigga Big Ribbit no, there's a few things that's gonna go down. First of all, I'ma talk shit. That's what I'm here to do. Secondly, I'ma pause the video, point out things that I see, and talk my shit. And thirdly, yeah, I'ma still talk my shit. And it's gonna get on your nerves if you don't want to be here. Cause I'm the type of person that make you want to go get your management like at the movies. But the problem is, I'm making the movie and I own the theater. So in the words of Run DMC, whose house? It's my house. But I'm a gentleman, so I'm gonna afford you the opportunity to go over to This Is Monsters. Great guys too, I love the content guys. And look for Gregory Green. And you can watch it yourself. But if you want to stay with me, and if you want to watch two times Mean Gregory Green and really get the story, then you need to stay right here with me. So if you doing that, let's go.
In 1991, a man named Gregory Green stabbed his wife, Tanya, in the chest and face. She was 6 months pregnant.
Damn.
Then he called 911 and waited for the police to come while she and the baby inside her bled to death. He did all this at the age of 25. However, when he was caught, Green pleaded an insanity defense in that case and was ordered for mental examination. But no mental deficiencies were found, and Green's parole requests were denied.
Hold up. I agree. Denied parole to this dude. For sure. It shouldn't even be a discussion. But to say no mental illness? Are you guys insane? In order to do what he did, even if it was premeditated, he gotta be insane. Cuckoo. I never understood that.
4 times, twice in 2004 and twice more than 2 years later. Now, what could have possibly made someone turn on their own pregnant wife and unborn child? Well, Green could never explain why he actually did what he did or why he turned himself into the authorities. Considering this backstory,
Because he's insane.
Green's behavior in prison verged on the unbelievable. And I say unbelievable because, interestingly enough, the only incident he got in trouble for was a fistfight over a television. I mean, other than that, there were no signs of the brutal violence he had shown to those closest to him, meaning his wife and unborn child.
Because for some reason, y'all need to find the backstory. I'm going to look it up. He don't like girls because that's what you do in jail is squabble. So, he didn't want it with the dudes.
Records show that his history during the time of imprisonment was pretty clean. They showed a man who followed the rules and stayed out of trouble. No aggression, no violent
No
outbursts.
problems.
Green was respectful to the staff and other inmates. There weren't even reports of minor behavioral problems. And apparently, Green even had plans for finding work after leaving jail and completed educational programs in prison. So it would seem that he was a completely changed man and left his past behind. Unfortunately, though, Green's story doesn't end there, because although his prison record was clean, his past actions were far from it. And whatever violent tendencies he managed to control in jail were soon to resurface. It had
So he killed his wife and his kid, unborn kid. And he even considering parole? Where they do that at? He wasn't no kid. He was 25 when he did that shit. That right there don't make no sense to me. If somebody can get in the comments and explain, please, because I did a lot of time. I got a homie, Baby Rock, been in there like 30 years over some dumb shit on an L. Yeah.
been 16 years since murdering his first family, and Green had managed to be granted parole. Aside from his unbelievably good behavior, there were other factors that helped him get released. Family and friends, including a pastor and civil rights activist called Harris, fought for him to be free. And the pastor, Harris, had previously been friends with Green and shockingly described his past murder as a simple,
He looked crazy, man. He looked crazy. He looked really crazy.
and I quote, mishap.
What?
In 2005, Harris wrote to the Michigan Parole Board saying, and I quote, I feel he has paid for his unfortunate lack of self-control.
Wait, I'm sorry. I gotta take it back just a little.
And shockingly described his past murder as a simple, and I quote, mishap.
How can you call the murder of your wife and your unborn child a mishap? And you're a man of God. I understand forgiveness, but that you can't rewrite history, homie. A mishap? What? Oh, yeah.
In 2005, Harris wrote to the Michigan Parole Board saying, and I quote, I feel he has paid for his unfortunate lack of self-control, but only time would tell if that were really true. Because once released in 2008, Green went on to marry Harris's daughter, Faith, who already had 2 children of her own.
So he did 19 years for 2 murders and then got out and got married. It's shit.
Green's past actions had somehow been forgiven and forgotten by both Faith and her father, the pastor. I know, it's pretty wild. Gregory, however, and his newfound wife, Faith, went on to have 2 children together, Coy and Calais. And you know, Green may have temporarily patched himself up, but sure enough, the cracks were evidently starting to show. Because in 2013, Green's wife, Faith, was refused personal protection orders against Green by a judge. And you may be wondering why she would even try to file for protection orders against Green himself.
I'm sorry, stupid. Of course she get it from a judge. Who else she go get it from? She got a protection order from a judge. Man, I wish I could reach through this video and slap shit out of you. But I love y'all over at This Is Monsters.
Her husband that she, married out of love, right? Well, it's because police had reportedly been called to their home many times over serious claims of violence disputes. But who could have seen this coming, Marrying a legitimate murderer who murdered his first wife and unborn child. Wow, I'm actually shocked. In any case, in 2016, Faith decided to file for divorce against Gregory Green. And nobody really knows what went through Green's head as his marriage was on the brink of collapsing, but we do know that the impact was devastating for him.
I know what was going through his head. You ain't going nowhere, bitch. Murder, death, kill. Murder, death, kill. That's what's going through this psychopath's mind. Who don't know what's going through his mind? He's mentally ill. That's what is wrong, man. We don't treat the mentally ill. I guess.
Because as soon as he found out that his second wife was about to divorce him, he turned his back to what he had learned in jail all those years ago and decided to pursue revenge against his wife because On the 21st of September 2016, in the early hours of the morning, Faith found herself unable to move. She was in the basement of their home in Dearborn Heights, Michigan. Her face had been slashed with a box cutter and her foot had been shot. Duct tape and zip ties restricted her movement, keeping her from her two.
Dang, that nigga did a Tory Lanez on her. If you don't know, Tory Lanez, remember, shot Megan Thee Stallion in the foot. See, I got problems. That's called, that is officially, when you shoot your girl in the foot, it's called a Tory Lanez.
Teenage children who had been shot multiple times in the same room as her. But killing his 17 and 19-year-old stepchildren and torturing his wife was only one part of the atrocity, because even Green's own biological daughters, of which he had with his wife, hadn't been spared by their father. Investigators who were on this case found a tangle of plastic tubing with duct tape around it on the car's muffler. This device had been rigged to release deadly carbon monoxide fumes while Coy, aged 5, and Calais, aged 4, were inside, according to prosecutors at court. The little girls were said to have been asleep during the whole ordeal and therefore died in their sleep. Or at least that's what their mother hoped happened. The bodies of the two young sisters, found later in the family home, had officially died from inhaling the toxic fumes before being moved inside by their father. And
he killed the babies. He put them in the car, suffocated them. Oh, I feel like somebody just socked me in the stomach. That is...
After this, he went on to complete his gruesome plan by shooting his wife and stepchildren. As in 1991, when he killed his first wife and child, Green called 911 and waited outside the house. When officers arrived, he told them he'd shot his family inside the house. Neighbors such as Michelle Carson witnessed the arrest without fully understanding what had happened. She described this as completely eerie, and everything was quiet as Green turned himself in. However, the conviction of Green was painful and disturbing for all involved. His crimes were the worst that veteran law enforcement officers claim to have dealt with in all their careers. Fortunately, though, his wife, Faith, appeared in court in a wheelchair as she survived the entire incident. Green pleaded utterly guilty and confessed to everything he had done, at times through tears. Yes, this guy was actually crying. And interestingly enough, while shopping at a Home Depot a week before, Green planned the murders of his two youngest daughters. According to info gathered from this case, the piping he bought there would allow him to alter the exhaust system in order to poison them with carbon monoxide when they were
like I said, just because he planned it out doesn't mean he isn't insane. Just the thought and the idea and to act on it is insane. Can I get an amen? Damn. We gotta fix shit. Mental ill. This dude is mentally ill.
inside his car. All of this was explained by the assistant prosecutor. And I know some of you may be confused as to what that may look like, but just imagine getting a long piece of pipe and connecting it to the exhaust of a car, and then routing that pipe up and over the trunk, and then putting it inside the back window, rolling up the windows, and then sealing up any part of the windows that may let fresh air inside. I know it sounds like a pretty brutal way to go out, but based on what I've been able to gather online, carbon monoxide overdoses or poison are typically painless as it knocks you out and renders you unconscious. In any case, Faith Harris's doctor told her,
"Yeah, they call that the coward suicide, because you don't feel no pain. I think all suicide is being a coward. So,
she has short-term memory loss about some details surrounding the slaughter of her children. Unsurprisingly though, she suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder and nightmares, as she explained in court. Upon realizing the nightmarish reality that all 4 of her children were gone, Faith simply stated, and I quote, "Some days I wish I had just died." But through being strong enough, she managed to say all this in court in front of her torturer and ex-husband, Gregory Green. She also said that justice will only be served when her ex-husband burns in hell for his awful crimes. She also stated that not even torture and death would bring her peace, something expressed by many people who have lost loved ones to violence. However, Faith was not the only one to express sorrow. Green, the husband and the murderer, wept while describing the murders of his biological children and stepchildren. He claimed that not a day goes by where he doesn't think about his girls, making it sound as if he were the victim. And when talking about the murder of his innocent children, the attorney stated that Green just, and I quote, wanted to get it over with. Green pleaded guilty to a mass of crimes: first-degree murder, second-degree murder, torture and assault, and a felony for firearms. Despite all this though, Green still can't come up with a reasonable explanation, or any clear explanation for that matter, as to why he killed his 4 children. Nothing
He's insane. That's why.
flagged up in his psychiatric tests and evaluations, and in fact, he was found completely mentally competent and
How? Whoever said he was mentally competent? The dude killed both families. They insane too. It's like a cartoon.
Faith Harris told the court it was all because he was, and I quote, insecure. You know, all this just makes his actions more horrifying because he legitimately had no definitive answer as to why he killed his own children. Like, Faith Harris called Green a devil in disguise and a monster in front of the whole court during his trial. She also added that he was a con artist, alluding to him somehow disguising his true personality from her. Regardless of his motive though, the loss of life from these very young children is something that can never be brought back. Faith Harris's 4 children were laid to rest on Friday after the hearing, and this was at their family church. More than 1,000 people attended the service. And with all her injuries showing, Faith needed assistance from family to even just sit down. Chadney Allen Sir was also present to say goodbye to his 2 children who had been slaughtered by their stepfather, Gregory Green. At the age of 50 though, Green was put in jail for a second time for crimes worse than his first. Judge Hathaway, who dealt with Green's case, told him his crimes were by far the worst she had ever dealt with. He was also told by Hathaway that his actions as a father were inconceivable. Therefore, Green is now serving a sentence of 40 to 100 years in prison. So basically, he will be spending the rest of his life in jail.
So, why didn't they do that? The first time. I got a homie. I ain't gonna say his name. He a good dude. White dude, too. A white dude. Wear glasses and everything. Smart as fuck. The way I remember the story being told, and I may be off a little bit, but because it was years ago. He got 25 to life, man. He ran a construction company out here. He had his own construction company, and he signed their first big deal. So his wife wanted to go out to this bar near where they lived. And, you know, cool white neighborhoods and shit. They're having some drinks, and I guess one of the biker dudes think my boy is a nerd. Because he's not very big either. So he said something to his wife, or touched his wife, or slapped her on the ass or something. Well, he didn't know that my boy was an all-state wrestler in Texas before he moved out here. And, you know, they do that shit. They do that wrestling shit down here. So he swung around and he got dude from behind in a choke. And slept on the wet floor and accidentally killed him. Broke his neck or something like that. Now, I think that's how the story went. But he got 25 to life for that shit. How this dude only do 16 and he killed his girl and the baby? I don't know. Alright, I'm gonna wrap this up. We coming up on the 20-minute. I ain't trying to keep y'all up all night. Y'all got a bedtime, gotta go to work tomorrow and still have energy to get it popping tomorrow night. So remember, man, I love you. I just need you to love somebody. And we keep passing on the love. Eventually, we'll catch up to the hate. One thing that won't change, and remember, we all neighbors. Peace.
Screw this, I'm going home.